Hi guys, and welcome back to my kitchen. So tomorrow's Valentine's. So what does that mean? Usually means treats for your sweetheart. So today in my kitchen, we're going to be making some red velvet Valentine whoopie pies. And we're probably going to be making a few little extra bonus treats there too. So, if you're new to my channel, welcome to my homestead. I'm Miss Lori, and you're here at Whippoorwill Holler. Valentine's has always been a special little treat day. When my kids were growing up, I always either bought them little bags with little treats in them, or and I do the grandkids the same way. But we're going to be making homemade this year, everything homemade. So, it'll be good. And we'll probably share a little bit with Mr. Brown too, since he's my sweetheart. And has been for what, 43, 44 years? So, let's get started. First we're going to be making our red velvet Valentine whoopie pies. And I've been, several subscribers have asked about my red velvet whoopie pies. And it's a very easy recipe. And then I thought, well, we'll just go on with that and make just a few little extra treats too. So, welcome to my kitchen. I hope you stick around and watch this easy, good recipe. Okay, we're going to start with our red velvet heart-shaped whoopie pies. We're going to start with our dry ingredients here, and I've got 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I've got a half a teaspoon of baking powder and a 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And I've got two tablespoons of baking cocoa. So you just want to mix up your dry ingredients. Just kind of incorporate them a little bit. You know, I'm not going to get to see my grandbabies on Valentine's, I'm afraid, because the weather's so bad, the roads are so bad, so I'm going to miss them. But I will be able to freeze the whoopie pies, wrap them up good and freeze them. And even my cake balls, my brownie cake balls, I'll be able to freeze them. And when I get to see them, I'll just take them out and they'll get their Valentine goodies. Meanwhile, me and Mr. Brown, we're going to eat a few of them. So we got the dry ingredients mixed up. Now we're going to go to creaming our butter. We got 8 tablespoons of butter. I had several people that were wanting me to do red velvet whoopie pies, and I've been saving it for Valentine's. Of course, as usual, I about waited too late. I always got so much going on. So we got 8 tablespoons of butter. And you just take that butter. Now, I'm not going to use no mixer today. I'm just going to use my hands mixing this up. And I got the people, it drives people crazy when they hear this, so I can't use it. So I'm going to go back to my spatula. So what you want to do is just pretty much cream your butter a little bit. Then I'm going to take my brown sugar. I've got a cup of brown sugar. We're just going to stir that together. Let's kind of cream them together. You know, I never was one of them women that wanted flowers or diamonds for Valentine's. And I'm not saying that it'd be a bad thing, but it's just not something that I wished for or even really wanted, but I always tell Mr. Brown, get me stuff that, that I can use. Don't give me stuff that's going to die. Even though you know how much I love flowers, and I think flowers are beautiful. So we got our butter and our brown sugar mixed up. Now we're going to take a large egg. And we're just going to cream that up. And I will put the recipe down in the description box. My recipes are always down in the description box below the videos. I know a lot of y'all watch us on TV and not your phones or not your computers. But you have to go either to your computer or your phones and just hit that little arrow underneath the videos, and it'll go to the description box, and it has our information and it has our recipes there. So our brown sugar, our egg, and our butter. Got that mixed up pretty good. Now we've got, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and put my teaspoon of vanilla, which y'all know my teaspoon is always a capful, a little bit more. We're going to put a half a cup of buttermilk. If you don't have buttermilk, you can make some by using, just put you a half a cup of milk with a teaspoon of white vinegar, and you'll have buttermilk about 10 or 15 minutes. In any red velvet recipe, cake recipe I've ever made, I always called for buttermilk. Now, let's see, we've got our butter, brown sugar, egg, vanilla, buttermilk. And we're going to put a tablespoon of red food coloring. And you see how pretty bright red that is. Now, I'm not one to use food coloring. You can buy the gel, which I like better, but I didn't have any, so I had to just use my regular food coloring, which will be okay this time. Okay, that's all of our wet ingredients. Now we're going to come back, and we're going to grab our dry ingredients. We're just going to mix that up. Red velvet cakes are so pretty during the holidays, whether if it's Christmas or Valentine's. It just makes a really pretty cake with cream cheese icing. Just mix that up real good. You can see how dark red that gets because of the cocoa powder. It kind of changes the color of it. So I'm just going to keep stirring until I get this mixed up good. I've got a sheet pan that I've got a piece of parchment paper on, and you can spray the parchment paper, you can oil it, or you can butter it, either one. Some people don't do none of it, but I like to put a little bit of butter on mine. It's not necessary, but I do. So we pretty much got this mixed up. And I'm going to get my baking sheet, and we'll get the batter on it. Okay, we got our batter out here on our baking sheet on top of a piece of parchment. Try to get as much of this off I can because y'all fuss at me if I don't. It just, sometimes you're in a hurry doing videos and you just can't be as precise, but it all turns out. Okay, I'm just going to spread this around in my baking sheet. This is a 9 by 13 baking sheet. Just try to spread it out to the edge. The mixture is pretty thick. If you think it's too thick for you to spread out, while it was still in a mixing bowl, you could have put a little bit more buttermilk in it if you wanted to. Now, you can do these hearts in different ways. Some people will take parchment paper and they'll draw out hearts on the parchment paper, about 1 inch space between them. And then they'll turn the parchment paper over, and then they'll pipe their cake batter and make the little design, the little hearts. I ain't really got time for that, but that's a good way to do it if you got time. So we're going to do it the easy way. Now, y'all probably are thinking, well, why does she have to put it on a sheet pan with parchment paper? Because it makes it so much easier to work with. When the cake's done and you go to cutting your shapes out, it's just easier to work with. If you got a piece of cocoa that didn't get stirred in good, just take it out like that. But we're going to get this batter spread out real good. Like I said, go from corner to corner. It won't take you very long. Just spread it out as evenly as you can. Okay, that looks good enough to me. My oven's at 350. We're going to stick it in the oven. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to put my timer on 15 minutes. Then I'll check it. Okay, let's get started on our brownie truffles. Whatever you want to call them. I think some people call them brownie cake pops. I just call them good. All you're going to do is start with is your favorite box brownies, whichever they are. I just picked these up at the dollar store because I usually don't keep brownie mix. We love homemade brownies, but this is just a really good recipe, so I'm going to stick with the recipe by using the box. You can use any kind. This is the fudge. You can use the dark chocolate, which makes really good truffles, brownie truffles. Just any kind that you prefer. This is a 18.3 ounce box, and you just mix it up according to the directions. In this case, it's 2 eggs, 3 tablespoons of water, and a half a cup of vegetable oil, or whatever oil that you use. And you're just going to mix this up, put it in your, I'm going to put this one in a 9 by 13 baking pan. Just bake it as usual till it's done. And then we'll bring it out of the oven and cool it off. And then we'll go from there. So I'm just going to pour this in my 9 by 13. And I'm just going to put it in the oven with my cake because it's set at 350. The cake should be about done. Okay, our cake is out of the oven. It took about 14 minutes for it to cook, and it's back here and it's cooling real good. We're going to make our filling now for our whoopie pies. This is going to be cream cheese filling. In my bowl, I've got 6 ounces of cream cheese, softened cream cheese. I've got 5 tablespoons of softened butter, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and we're going to use the hand mixer this time. We're going to cream this together real quick before we put our powdered sugar in it. Okay, we're going to put the other half of the powdered sugar. Mix it. It's done, and it's good and thick. See how thick it is? And it tastes really good. And I know y'all want to lick the beaters. So we have our little hearts cut out for our whoopie pies. And this is what's left over, but don't think that's a waste, because what we're going to do with this, we'll crumple it up in a bowl, and then we're going to mix some of that cream cheese with it, and then we'll dip them in probably white chocolate if I've got some, and we'll make red velvet truffles out of this. So there's no waste. Now, if you don't want to make the little hearts, you just want to make a regular round whoopie pie, you can do that. And that's all you'll do is once you get your batter mixed up, you've seen how thick it was, you'll just leave 1-inch spaces between them and just put you some little dollops of batter on there to make you round whoopie pies. And it works really well. But this is your little hearts. So now that everything's cooled, we got everything going, I'm going to put this in a bowl to make some red velvet cake pops or truffles. And we'll start filling our little hearts. Okay. Let's start filling our little hearts. Filling it with cream cheese and love. We're just going to take a little bit of our filling, dab it right there in the middle, And you can put as much as you want. If you feel like your whoopie pie the part's too thick, you can cut it in half and make two. And then I'm just going to take another one and I'm just going to squeeze it together just like that. And if you like it to look prettier than that, you can kind of wipe the sides. Just kind of wipe them down with your spatula. Make them look a little bit neater. So there is your heart whoopie pie. Don't that look good? Yum. That's going to make my grandkids happy. Now, when you get these done, and Mr. Brown too, when you get these done, you can wrap them any way you want to. I'm just going to individually wrap them in plastic wrap. You may have a special plastic wrap, or you may have some little Valentine baggies that you got at the dollar store or something that you want to put them in. But once I get them filled and wrapped, I'll put them in the refrigerator because of the cream cheese filling. I always keep them in the refrigerator. And then if, somebody wants one, they can go in there and grab it. Of course, if you're going to put them if you're going to give them as gifts, they'll be okay for a while to wrap up and put them in a gift box. But you don't want to leave them overnight or too long at room temperature just because of the filling. So we'll just continue to make our sweet little hearts here. I love whoopie pies, and I love any kind. I have so many recipes, and I was going to make most of them at Christmas time, and there just wasn't enough time to get them done. There's just so many different kinds: gingerbread, pumpkin, chocolate, you name it, they're out there, and they're so good. And whoopie pies was something that I made for my children when they were growing up, because we didn't buy snacks from the store very much at all. If they ever got a bag of Oreos, it was a very special treat. But I would make chocolate whoopie pies because that was their favorite. And I'd wrap them up individually and stick them in the crisper of the refrigerator. And that would be their snack when they got in from school. And they just really loved them. So I'm going to continue to make my red velvet heart whoopie pies. My brownies are out of the oven. I'm going to let them cool. And then we'll continue making the rest of our sweets for our sweets. Yummy. Okay, we got the leftover remnants of the red velvet cake, and you just kind of mush it up and crumble it up real good. That's all you got to do. And it was pretty much already done once I got it out of the pan. And you see how much I've got left. There's almost 2 cups left, so that's going to make quite a few truffles. So all we're going to do is take the leftover cream cheese that I didn't use for my whoopie pies, because that does make quite a bit of filling. So with this one recipe, you get quite a bit out of it. I'm not sure how many truffles I'll get. I'll know by the end of the video, surely. And we're just going to mix this up good. Just mix that cream cheese in with those, with that cake crumbles, and just mix it up really good. You want to make sure it's all good and incorporated, and then we're just going to stick it in the refrigerator, and we're going to let it chill for a couple hours before we dip them in chocolate. I thought I had some white chocolate, but I don't. I'm going to have to dip them in. I think I'm going to use almond bark, so I'm going to use. Our brownies are done and they're good and cool, and I'm just going to take my fork and I'm going to go inside and I'm just going to gather it up. I know you're thinking, oh, you're messing them good brownies up, but this is how you make your cake pops. And don't get the outer edge where it's so hard, because you'll have very hard cake pops if you do that. So just gather it up like this and save the outer crunchy part for later. I'll save it for Mr. Brown. He can eat it. So just gather it up and we'll go on from there. We got our brownies in our bowl. Now we're going to take a can of frosting, store-bought frosting, and this is what I found at the dollar store. It's whipped buttercream, and you're going to use the whole can. You can use any kind of frosting. You can use this kind. You can use a chocolate. You can use just a plain white frosting. You can even use a strawberry frosting. That's really good with your brownie cake pops. Just whichever you want to use. Sky's the limit there. You can just make them whatever you want. So now we're just going to get this mixed up really, really good. Just incorporate all that frosting into them brownie crumbles. And I'll chill this just like I did the red velvet cake crumbles, and we'll dip it in chocolate too. Well, it's late at night and the lighting is off over here, but I just want to show y'all. I've taken my brownie and my red velvet out of the refrigerator, and now I'm just going to make whatever size little truffles and cake balls you want to make. Just roll them up. You see I'm putting them on a little rack here. Make as many as you want. This is going to make quite a bit, I can tell you right now. And then we're going to dip them in chocolate.
Happy Valentine.